This horrific attack on a British soldier, a man in his 40s, in broad daylight, walking home, just a few hundred yards from his Brompton barracks, that in Kent, that he was attacked, stabbed multiple times whilst wearing his uniform. It was being alleged that he was deliberately targeted because he was a British serviceman. A man is in custody. We're now told by Kent police they believe it's not a terror-related incident and investigating whether it may be mental health-related. Some of us will have some queries about that, because I think often people who are motivated for terror attacks actually also often do have, I would say that is a mental health issue personally. But what do you make of this? Because the Prime Minister has said he's shocked and appalled by this attack. There's lots of echoes for a lot of people of the Lee Rigby attack in Woolwich all those years ago.
Exactly. Look, I mean, I echo what the Prime Minister and the Defence Secretary, the Chief of the Defence Staff and the Chief of the General Staff have said. You know, it is shocking and appalling. And even if the fact that he was in uniform, he serves in His Majesty's Armed Forces, was entirely coincidental, you would, of course, still be shocked and wish him and his family well and hope for a speedy recovery. But if the fact that he was in uniform is not a coincidence, it was the cause of the attack, that is deeply concerning. And, you know, I defer to Kent Police to do their investigation and establish the motive. But of course, you know, the thing that comes immediately to mind is that awful attack on Lee Rigby in Woolwich. And it's a timely reminder, especially in the wake of the conversation you and I were just having, the proximity of war, the threat to our national interest. It's time to reflect on the risks that military personnel are willing to take on our nation's behalf overseas. And the very least that we can do is provide them with an environment back home where they and their families feel supported, not where they fear for their safety.
Absolutely. Just finally, you chose to stand down as a minister, chose to stand down as an MP, didn't have to basically take part in the sort of what effectively was a bloodbath on July the 4th for Tory candidates. Tory leadership election has been announced. It's going to run all the way to the 2nd of November. You know, basically 3.5 months worth of debate on this. We won't even see the candidates whittled down to below 4 until after the party conference later in the autumn. Is that the right thing to do, to have a long contest, and who would you be backing?
It's definitely the right thing to do. Nobody makes good decisions on the rebound. And I think that just giving the party time to get over the emotion, the shock of what happened.
Why was it a shock? It wasn't a shock to the rest of us.
Well,
we knew it was coming.
I think it was a shock as in a surprise. It's a shock as in it's a moment when lots of people have lost their jobs. You know, lots of the role of the parliamentary party has completely changed. So just making sure that the party has a bit of time to let tempers cool and to let some heads clear, both in the parliamentary party and in the wider membership, I think is a good thing. Using conference as an opportunity to actually put leaders through their paces on the platform in the conference hall, also in the media, and in just working the rooms, talking to ministers or talking to members, also a really good thing. When it comes to it, I happen to think that what the party needs right now is a unifier, someone who communicates well, someone who's got experience in high office and doesn't flap about the big issues, and somebody who builds a good team around them. So when James cleverly announced his candidature last night, I was pleased. I hoped he would. He will have my support. I think there are other good candidates, and I think there are candidates that will present more radical visions of what the Conservative Party could be. But actually, I think that the Conservative Party has got a pretty good sense of where it's at. The problem over the last 4 or 5 years or so is that there have been kind of two irreconcilable wings. I mean, people off to the kind of left of the parliamentary party that kind of aren't really Conservatives, and people off to the right of the parliamentary party that aren't really Conservatives. And if you bend yourself so far out of shape, it's really hard for people watching or listening at home to figure out actually what you stand for, because you appear to stand for everything and nothing.
There is that, and there's also the issue of competence in government and getting the job done. You know,
absolutely,
but fundamentally,
a decent, hard-working person who connects with public and makes them reappraise.
There's connecting and there's unifying and there's all of that, but fundamentally, the Conservative Party needs to decide what the heck it stands for, because I'm absolutely at a loss to know what it does.
Julia, I agree. I thought, honestly, I hate to admit this, but I thought the quote of the general election in terms of what my party has become came from Nigel Farage, and he said it was a really nice turn of phrase. He said, "They keep telling me they're a broad church, but as far as I can see, they're a church without a religion." And I just thought that was so true.
Yeah.
Now that's not an invitation to track right or track left. That's just an invitation to reaffirm what we stand for.
Well,
free market, belief in the individual, opportunity for all, the state being the size that it needs to be to do what others can't, but otherwise to get out of people's lives, and just standing up.
I was going to say, and the last 14 years didn't see the government doing any of those things. But we're going to have to leave it there, James. I know we'll get you on again, and we'll talk you into coming on again. It's always so good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Yeah, he would have been a possible runner for the leadership, I would have thought, if he'd stayed on as an MP. James Heappey, former Conservative Armed Forces Minister.